Hi, I'm Dale. Behind me, 55 Studebaker sitting on a 76 Chevrolet K30 chassis. Today we're just going to talk real quick about the fabrication of a vehicle and sometimes the difficulty of working on it after it's been fabricated. Now this vehicle rolled in about 5 years ago, I think it was. Customer bought it. He just bought it online, unseen. It came in. Beautiful truck, absolutely beautiful. Also one of the most unsafest vehicles I'd ever seen in my 50 years. The frame was shortened, and they did a great job of cutting it and having a butt on it, and they butt welded it, and that's where they left it. So it was, just a matter of time for it to fall in half. So I used, I believe it was 3/8 inch plate, and fish plated it, welded it all up. No, I did not box it. Boxing wouldn't have fixed the problem that it needed. Plus, it's a super big, heavy frame with a fairly low horsepower engine. And if it was 700-800 horse and it was doing tractor pulls, yeah, I probably need boxed and fish plated. But the fish plate is what it needed, and that's what I did. The box was welded onto the frame in 2 spots to the sheet metal. That's all it was. That was it. That was the only thing that was holding the box on. So I had to go in and take the, cut the welds, take the box off, and build all new mounts. The factory had it mounted in 6 spots, I believe, and that's exactly what I did. Bolted, I welded everything to the frame, but I bolted it all to the box. The cab was bolted on in 2 places at the back, and then it was bolted at the front. Was bolted to the fenders. The fenders were bolted to the frame, but there was no front cab mounts at all. So I had to remove the cab completely and redo all that mounting that was in there, because the back ones were wrong and everything was out of wick-wack, and it just wasn't quite right. So I had to do that. To do that, I had to pull the whole front clip off of it as well. So I basically disassembled the entire body off the vehicle and redid it all. The radiator mount system was funky, and it's just the whole thing. The whole thing was that way. The exhaust was welded to the frame. There was not one exhaust hanger on it. It was all welded to the frame, and then it had those, and you remember those old Zoomies from back in the 70s that were, they'd hook into your muffler and then come out, and they came up with Zoomies up the side of the van. Well, that's what this had on it, between the bed, the rear fender, and the cab, was those Zoomies that come up. So I took those off, and some guy walked in the shop right after taking those off, said, "Hey, you want to sell those?" And I said, $100. He was in heaven. So I got rid of those, fixed all the exhaust. It's all hung correctly now, and I did that. And then just recently, I needed to put a fuel sending unit in it because it had rotted off, and it was the only way it'd pick up fuel is if the tank was completely full. So I went to do it, couldn't get to the bolts to drop it, for the straps to drop it, and come to find out, everything was welded in place. Everything was welded in place. I couldn't get to it. Back bumper was welded in place. It's got a really nice trailer hitch on it. It's welded, which is fine. That part's great. But there's no way to get to anything. So I had to go in and start cutting stuff off until I could get to it. Then when I put it back together, I bolted it all in. And so now I welded nuts in where everything was captured. You couldn't get to it with a wrench. I went in and I welded the nuts in so they're captured. So now, the 4 bolts, you can drop the bumper off, and then there's an inspection plate in there, a couple bolts. You can take that out without dropping the bumper, and with just that, you can take the fuel tank out without taking the bumper off. But those are the things. Whether you're buying a car, my suggestion is, if you don't know what you're looking at, you need to take a guy that does know what they're looking at, that's built a few cars, and has an idea at least, and put a scenario in your mind, and start at the back, and start looking at it. Can I get the rear differential out? Can I get the fuel tank out? Can I replace the pan gasket on the automatic transmission without cutting all the exhaust off and maybe a cross member? Those are all the things. Can I get the starter out? All the way up to the front of, can I get that engine out of there without having to undo a bunch of body work? I've seen a lot of vehicles where the front fenders are molded in to the rockers and the cowl, and it's beautiful. But if you look in that engine compartment, there's no way you're going to get that engine out of there without destroying all that work, because you can't. A lot of those, the grill is molded into the fenders and all that stuff. I mean, it's custom work, and it's beautiful, and it's great if it's a Trailer Queen and you don't really care if it runs or not. But if you're going to drive it, sooner or later, you're going to find out that you got to pull the engine up to replace a header gasket or whatever it may be, and that you can't. So those are all the things you need to look at, and that goes the same if you're building. Just think of everything you're doing and go, am I willing to have to take and cut my brand new exhaust system off to replace the starter? Those are the things you've got to look at while you're designing and engineering your vehicle, and try to make it as easy as you can to get to things. That's how I do it, and I will discourage a customer as best as I can, and to not do that. So I'm going to take you for a quick trip around the truck here and show it to you. We're going to cover some other stuff. One is how to buy a used vehicle like this, and things to look for besides what I've just covered. And then I'm going to kind of take you over some of the stuff that I did with this as well. Electrical was horrific, and it was a beautiful truck that you couldn't drive, basically. Now, you could drive this to New York and back, and I'm in Colorado. So with that, I'm going to take you around and show it to you. I'm just going to take this off here. I'm not going to cut the video or anything. All right. So like I say, this is let me bring this zoom back a little bit. There we go. This is a 1955 Studebaker. It was a 3/4 ton. Well, no, I'll take that back. It was a V8 half ton is what it was. And somebody did some really nice work on it. This vehicle has basically zero Bondo in it anywhere, and it's got a considerable amount of custom work done to it. And as I worked on it, I've had everything off of it, and like on the fenders, the underside of the fenders are perfect. There's not any dings or dents in it of any kind, and zero rust. And they did a nice job on the interior, although I put new seats in it, and the seats that were in there, again, were like bolted down with 2/4 inch bolts, and that's all there was to it. So we put these new seats in, and and with seat belts, and then so they had to rewire everything. Has air conditioning. It's a very nice truck. We just drove it. The customer and I just drove it about 60 miles, I guess it was, and It just drove so well. It's got a gear vendor's automatic 6-speed overdrive in it. So it's got turbo 350, and then it's got that, so it automatically shifts, turn it into a 6-speed. It's got Rancho, I don't know what the lift is on it, but it's got all new Rancho on it. It's got 2 shocks that are adjustable on each corner all the way around. The bed is the same way. Absolutely no filler or anything in it. It's just, it must have been just a completely babied truck. And then there's whoever did the bodywork did good. You know where the taillights would have been here. There's no Bondo there as well. It's just been well done. So yeah, those Zoomies, they came up right here and came up. They were beautiful. The next video that I do of this, I'll show you under the hood. It's got a 400 board to 406 small block Chevy. Pretty much all stock. Got an Edelbrock intake and 1406 carb on it. But other than that, it's pretty much stock. But like I say, they did a nice job on it, and on the body side of it, and the interior was pretty decent. So I went over a couple minutes more than I wanted to on this video already. So I will end it here, and I just want to thank you for watching, and have a blessed day.